this new Procreate tutorial, and in this tutorial we're going to make flowers and fireflies. And in the meantime I will show you some really cool tricks in Procreate. First we have to create a new canvas, of course. So tap the plus here, tap the plus there, and then create a canvas of 2500 by 2000 pixels. Then tap Create. And I hope you managed to get the color palette in. Of course you can choose your own colors, but this can be easy. My advice is to create your own flower, because imitating will give a headache, I think. It's really impossible to create the exact same movements, but I will give you the tips and tricks. First let's create a background color that's different from white. And I want the really dark blue. And the color palette and the brush is available in the Patreon post, and it's totally free for everyone, so you can grab it there. And I will place a link in the video description. Okay, well, first we have to go to a brush, and I will go for calligraphy and then the monoline brush. For the color I will choose a lighter blue color, and for the brush size I will choose 10% and the brush opacity is 100%. And first I'm going to create the center of the flower. A small circle. Well, of course it's really difficult to create a real circle. When you place your pencil and create a kind of circle, it will snap to an ellipse. And when I place one finger on the screen, it will snap to a circle. Then I lift my pencil and I want this to be in the complete middle. So therefore I can choose the arrow here. And I will have to choose snapping here. I turn on snapping, but magnetics isn't switched on, but you can do that, but I don't like it for now. And you can tap the screen, and when you move it you will see the orange lines, and when the middle is on the middle you will see those lines. So when I'm here you can't see it, but when I slide to the right it will snap to the center, and when I place it in the middle there you can see both lines. Well, now I have it perfectly in the middle. Then I can tap the arrow again and I can grab the color and fill it. Then I want to create the flower, and we can use a really cool tool for that. You can go to the wrench here, then to drawing guide, then to edit drawing guide, and then to symmetry. And then one more step, go to options and choose radial. And I didn't select rotational symmetry, but I have assisted drawing selected. Then you tap you tap done, and now we can create the flower. And this comes to your own fantasy. When you create a form and you let the pencil on the screen, it will automatically generate arcs, and that can be really helpful. Let's grab another color. Let's grab a brown. And you can also, when look, when my line is like this and I want it in a different way, I can manipulate a little like this, but I can also say edit shape. And it's set to a line, and then I can edit the line. So that can be helpful. When I tap the screen, it will disappear. No, I don't like that. Sometimes you have to try things. Let's grab another color. And I was a little too slow, and now it's snapped to a line, but I can tap with 2 fingers and then it goes back. And when I don't like the arc, I can tap with 2 fingers again and I go 1 step back in the process. Okay, now let's color some so you can play around with this, but in the end I want to make sure everything in the flower is colored. So there's color on every pixel. That's really important. And I think this isn't colored yet, but I can check that. I can create a background color that's totally different. So for instance, like this, and now I can see it still is the same as the background. So now I know I need to color that. Oh, I'm still in the background. Well, let's go to the right layer, of course. You can always see when the blue layer, that's a layer we're working on, and there's just 1 layer now, but later on there will be more. And now I'm going to decorate the flower. Totally the same color as in the background, so let's switch back to the darker color. So like this. Make sure you're in the right layer. Well, no other possibilities now, and I'm going to decorate it even more. And I want some white details, so I go for the lighter color here. think this always looks like magic. No, don't like that one. Sometimes you have to try. That's better. I think this is totally okay for me. Make sure when you want to proceed, your flower is okay, because later on it's really hard to adjust. So when you don't like your flower, well, stop the video, make a new one, and proceed when you're totally content with your flower. Alright, well, then I'm going to the layer menu and I'm going to switch off assisted drawing, and I will do the same here. So I go to the wrench and switch off drawing guide. Now I'm going to duplicate this layer. And I'm going to duplicate it 3 times. So then I have 4 flowers. So I go to the layer menu, go to the flower layer, slide to the left and say duplicate, and do it again, and do it again. So now I have 4 flowers. The top one is this one, and I want that one to stay totally the same because I like the flower. This one will be the thickness of the flower, as if it's wood, and this one will be the shadow layer, and this one will be the color dodge layer, as if there's coming light from behind. But first I'm going to this layer, and I'm going to set that to alpha lock. This one too, so set all the layers to alpha lock. All 4. And then I go to this one. So every time the blue one is the one you're drawing on. This one will be a brown one. So I can select this layer, but I can draw on this one now, but you can't see what you're doing then. So I want to see just that layer, and therefore I can tap the little arrow here, and now I can see just this layer, and this layer is selected. For the color, I will go to this brown. For the brush, I will go to the big soft airbrush that's also in the post. I choose the highest opacity and the highest brush size, and with a few strokes it's brown. Then I'm going to make some texture on it, and you can go to textures, and I will go for grunge. For the color, I will choose the darkest brown here. The brush size is about 30% and the brush opacity is 21%. And I will give a little texture. Something like this. Then I go to the layer menu, and this layer has to be black, sorry. So I go to that layer, I tap it, I select it, I deselect the others, and now you have to select the working layer, the blue layer, to that layer too, otherwise it doesn't work. And then I go for a really dark color. You can choose a darker color here, or you can tap twice here in the circle, and then it will snap to the perfect black. And for the brush, I will go to the airbrush, the big soft airbrush again, highest opacity, highest, size, like this. Then the same for this layer. We have to select that layer, we have to select it. And now I'm going for the lightest blue here. And again, I make it blue. Okay, then I switch them all on, so I can see what I'm doing. And I will move these layers. First, I'm going to deselect alpha lock here, so the color dodge layer. So I go to that layer, I deselect alpha lock, then I tap the N here and choose color dodge. Then I go to the magic wand, then to Gaussian blur, then to layer and slide to the right. I will go for 16%. Then I tap the magic wand again and go to the layer menu. Then I'm going to the brownish layer and I'm going to move that one too, but still alpha lock selected, well, it doesn't matter exactly. So I go to the arrow here, make sure it's set to uniform, that's really important. And then I slide slightly to the right, slightly, not too much, as if the flower has some thickness. Something like this. Then I tap the arrow again. Same for the black layer. I tap the arrow, make sure it's set to uniform, and I slide it slightly to the right. And I want to blend that layer too. So I have to deselect alpha lock, otherwise it doesn't work. So slide it to the right, tap the arrow, go to the layer menu, tap this one and deselect alpha lock. And now we can blend it, go to the magic wand here, choose Gaussian blur, then tap layer and slide slightly to the right. I go for 7%. Then tap the magic wand again, and now we have a flower with a shadow, with thickness and with light coming from behind. But I think the light can be a little more intense. So you can go to the color dodge layer and duplicate it. So slide to the left, duplicate it, and then it becomes brighter. You can even do it another time. Maybe that's a little too much, but no problem. You can tap the CD here and choose the opacity you like. I think I go for 21%. Then I want to pinch these two together. It's not totally necessary, but we have a lot of layers in the end, and I think this will work. Then I want to group this layer because I want to move it around and I want to duplicate it. So when you create a group, the blue layer is always selected. Then you can select another layer by sliding it to the right, and then group will appear. You can tap group, and then it says new group. You can tap the little arrow here and a group will be formed. Now I want to duplicate this group and I want to create 6 flowers. So I'm going to slide this one to the left, duplicate it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And of course they are now all on top of each other, not the thing we want. But we can move it around now. I am going to start here. So this is the first flower I'm going to move. I tap the arrow here, make sure it's set to uniform, and I move it around, make it way smaller. When you want to rotate it, you can grab the little green dot and I will place it something here. Then I tap the arrow again. Of course, we can come back later and adjust it again. Then I tap another group, tap the arrow, and I want two bigger ones, and then the next one. You can tap the arrow again, make it a lot smaller. And then the next one. And the next one. And the next one. And of course you can play with your placement and make it a little different, of course. I think this one can be a little higher. Sometimes it's really hard to see which one you have, but you can also check. When I tap the arrow here, I will select only that one. Of course I have to select it. Then I know I'm in this group. Okay, then I tap the arrow, and I think I like it this way. Now we can alter some of these flowers. So we can go to a group and select one group, for instance this one, and I can say flatten. And in that way the color dodge applies to every layer in it, and it will alter the colors. So I want to change this one and that one, I think. Of course it's a guess which one is which. Let's see. That's one. No, that's not the one I want. Yes, I can say, so I choose that one and I say flatten again. And then I want to change this one. I think that's, no, that's not the right one. That's also not the right one. That's the right one. So I choose this one and say flatten. And in this way we've created several flowers with several sizes and several colors. Then I want to create the stems, and the stems are underneath the flower layers, of course. So we have to go to the layer menu, go to the lowest one. You can't select background color and add one on top of that, so you have to do one trick. Choose the lowest one, choose plus, and then grab the layer and place it underneath the group. And in this layer I'm going to make the stems. For the color I will choose this brownish color. And for the brush, I will go for the monoline brush again under calligraphy. For the brush size, I will choose a bigger brush size of 40%, well, maybe somewhat bigger, 44%, and the brush opacity is still 100. Look, I was a little too slow and then it snaps to a straight line, but I don't want a straight line. Maybe a bluish line for the bluish ones. I think something like this. Well, maybe this line needs to be a little wider, so I have to go to that color again, grab the color, make a line a little bigger. Then I want the stems to have thickness too, so we have to duplicate the layer again. So we go to the little stems and duplicate it 4 times. No, duplicate it 3 times, so we have them 4 times. Then set these layers to alpha lock. And again, the lowest layer is set to color dodge. And we have to color these layers, of course. So I go to the lowest layer and I will go for the lighter blue here. For the brush, I will go to the big soft airbrush. And of course you can make sure you're in the right layer. You can color it like this. But if you want to be sure, you can always select it. And now I can see I missed a little part. Then I will choose this layer and make that one completely black. Then I choose this layer and tap it here, and I make that one brown, and I choose a darker brown here, like this, and then I switch them all on. Now we can move the layers. Make sure you move the right layers, of course, and I will start with moving the brownish layer. I'll tap the arrow here, make sure it's set to uniform, and I place it just slightly to the right. Just a little. Then I tap the arrow again, and then I go for the next layer, the black layer. I tap the arrow, slide it slightly to the right, tap the arrow, and of course I want to blur it. So I have to deselect alpha lock, go to the magic wand, go to Gaussian blur, to layer, and then slide slightly to the right. I tap the magic wand again, and then I go to the color dodge layer. Also, I switch off alpha lock, then I go to the magic wand, I slide it slightly to the right. Then I go to the magic wand. Then I go to Gaussian blur, then to layer. I go for a Gaussian blur of 13.5%. Maybe that's a little too much. I will go for something less, 10%. I tap the magic wand, and now we have the flowers in place. Then I want some fireflies, and for the fireflies I will create a new layer. So I go to the highest layer and then tap the plus. And now we are going to create some fireflies. And you can create it like this. Enlarge it a little. I go to the yellow color, and for the brush I will go to the colored pencil. You can grab the colored pencil also in the post. Oh, that's a little too big. I go for a brush size of 10% and the brush opacity is 100%. Then I go for a lighter blue color. I will go for this one, the second one in the second row. So let's make some fireflies. First I make the bodies. And then I choose the yellow for the little wings. Then I want to create the color dodge effect for the fireflies, of course, too. So I have to go to the layer menu and duplicate the firefly layer. So I have to duplicate it, and then I go to the lowest one and set this one to color dodge. Then I go to the magic wand, go to Gaussian blur and then layer, and then slide slightly to the right. I will go for 14%. Then I have to duplicate this layer, so I choose duplicate, and again, and again. And of course you can always play around and make it a lower opacity or choose less layers. Let's see. Oh, I think I like it this way. If you're sure that you like it, you can always pinch these two together. Like this. Then, final step, I want some leaves. So I go to the layer menu, I go to the highest layer, and then I say plus. For the brush I will go to the monoline brush again, it's under calligraphy. Waited too long, but no problem of course. Maybe I don't like the color. Maybe a brownish one. That's better. And you can always grab local colors, of course. Okay, when you think you're totally satisfied about the forms, you can always say alpha lock to this layer. And we can do the same trick, we can duplicate it twice, one for the shadow and one for the thickness. So these are all alpha locked, the middle one needs to be really dark, so I go for a really dark color. Let's add a new color to the color palette. And of course I have to select that layer. For the brush I will go to the big soft airbrush. And then I will go to the lowest layer. And then I will create a black one. Okay, then I switch on every layer again and I move the shadow layer first. Then I tap the arrow again and I want to blend it. So I have to go to the layer menu and deselect alpha lock. I go to the magic wand, to Gaussian blur, to layer, slightly to the right. And then the brownish layer. So I go to one layer on top of that. I tap the arrow, slide it slightly to the right. Maybe it's a little too dark. I turn off snapping. And that way it moves a little smoother. I think I will change the color a little. Yeah, that's better. Okay, and then I want to decorate the leaves, so I go to the top layer and I'm going to decorate them. So I go for the monoline brush again. Okay, well, that's it. I hope you liked it, and I hope you learned a lot of it, a lot from it. And well, maybe I can see you on my Patreon page. And I create a tutorial for my patrons every week, and I try to make advanced tutorials and beginners tutorials. So I think 3 times a month it will be kind of a beginner's tutorial or a little advanced, and sometimes 1 time a month I create a really well challenging one, and maybe you want to see some of them. So I can show you, this was a really nice project, the strawberries. Now let's do it in another way. And this is more a beginner's tutorial, and this is in between. And of course this is more an advanced one. And this one is on YouTube too. And so there's something in every tutorial, and it's really fun. So for about $10 a month you have access to all the lessons I ever made for my patrons for Procreate. And well, you can make all of these, of course. And when you are one of the first, you get access to the Amsterdam brushes. And the Amsterdam brushes are brushes I've made. They are stem brushes, and there's a bike, and there are kennel houses, and there are street lights, and you can use them to make decorations or illustrations. So this one was a cool one too. So all kind of tutorials, and it's really fun. So I hope you liked it, and I hope to see you next time. Have a nice day, and maybe you can tag me when you have a nice result and show the world, because I hope I can let this channel grow, and I hope I can let Patreon grow, and you can help. Well, thank you very much, and see you next time.